Hi, I'm Rosenberg. Welcome to my latest YouTube video and podcast. Today I'm going to try to tackle an age-old question, one that philosophers, educators, psychotherapists, writers, songwriters have tried to figure out. What is love? Yes, what is love? Automatically, I have like 2 or 3 songs that are popping up in my head. I'm sure the same is for you. But the reason I'm going to try to define this, because when I decided to come up with a diagnostic procedure for codependency, a way to certify, to understand, to be sure that someone has codependency, just like any other mental health or medical disorder, the disorder has to be clearly defined, and there has to be diagnostic criteria from which you have to match the person with the disorder and the disorder. And when we do this, we get continuity. We find that who are being diagnosed are getting the right diagnosis because they all follow the specific criteria that has been developed. So this is a review for many of you. I developed the term self-love deficit disorder for codependency. But in my human magnet syndrome books, I created a clear definition for codependency. Very clear, simplistic. I said codependency is a mental health and relationship problem in which the person gives all of the love, respect, caring, trust, and protection with hopes that it will be mutual, returned, but finds out it is not and chooses to stay in the relationship. So let me say it again. A person who gives all the love, respect, caring, trust, and protection, LRCTP. By the way, that was expanded from my Human Magnet Syndrome book to LRC, to LRCTP in my Codependency Revolution book. They give all the LRCTP with hopes of it being mutual or reciprocated. Because of the human magnet syndrome and the unconscious but reflexive attraction to narcissists, it doesn't get reciprocated, and they stay. Then I created codependency personality profiles, because codependency, like all of the other mental health disorders, come in all sizes and shapes. You can, if you are diagnosed with depression, you can be a liar, you can be angry, you can have insecurities. Well, codependency is no different. So I came up with 10 codependency personality profiles. That is written in my Codependency Revolution book, and there's 5 that were first written about in my Human Magnet Syndrome book. But it's important to say that codependency is a person who gives all the LRCTP away, but chooses to stay with a partner who does not reciprocate. Perfectly simple. And this way, you can look at different types of people who might not be seen as codependent and have that simple diagnostic criteria, that simple diagnostic explanation, and match them. And I'm not going to go over all my profiles, but just to name a few. There's the passive, the one that kind of gives up. It kind of is a martyr, is, the salt of the earth, would give their shirt off their back for anyone. There's the active codependent that fights and argues and tries to control. There's the oblivious one that puts their head in the sand and just ignores problems when it's all around them. There's the cerebral one that uses intellectual stimulation, therapy, books, retreats, anything to focus their mind on solving the problem instead of getting to the root of it. And if you read my Codependency Revolution, it's my favorite book. I believe it's my masterpiece. There's a whole chapter on codependency personality traits. But I bring this up because I want to talk about love. So in developing the Codependency Revolution book and the chapter on the new codependency, I talk about, the definition, the LRCTP distribution problem. And then I define what exactly is the love, what exactly is respect, what is caring, what is trust and protection. And it was very, very difficult for me to do this because essentially I was trying to define what is love. It didn't occur to me until months after I wrote the chapter that I did that. But anyone can tell you their own definition of love. They can tell you about it, how it makes them feel. It can tell you about how it makes them think, what it does to them, what it doesn't do to them, how it makes them, inspires them. They write songs, they're happy. For some get sad, some get isolated. But I simplified it. To love a person is to practice and be adept at the mutual exchange of love. I know that's redundant. Respect, caring, trust, and protection. Each one is a specific element of what is love. If you love someone, you respect them. That means you admire them. You hold them in high esteem. You look up to them, not because of accomplishments, but because they are a person that is important to you. It is a connection for which you get out of yourself and you look to the other person and appreciate, enjoy them for who they are. In some cases, what they've become, what they've accomplished, you take care of them. You seek to attune to their needs and find ways to make sure that their needs are satisfied or sometimes cared for if they're unable to do it. So we've gone over respect, R, C, caring, trust. Trust is incredibly important with love. In a loving relationship, you have to believe that person is going to do the very best they can to engender a healthy relationship, to keep that relationship going, to invest in that relationship. Trust is to know and to believe they have good intentions. They won't hurt you. If they do, it won't be on purpose. And if they do it on purpose, they will apologize and make amends. Trust is to give them the freedom to be who they are, to allow them to experience their life fully, allow them to make mistakes, to understand the consequences, to learn from them, and to become stronger. To give them the leeway, the opportunity to take a break, to go somewhere, psychologically, emotionally, physically, geographically, and know they're going to come back. Trust is the connection of two hearts, knowing that the other person has their very best intention to maintain, feed into, and to build on the loving relationship. And protection. Protection is not just someone saying, "Don't you hurt my person, my girlfriend, my wife, my partner. I won't allow that." Well, that's classic protection, is to stand in front of danger so that the person you love is not hurt. They're not taken advantage of. They're not minimized. They're not exposed to consequences that are unnecessary. Or in the case when they cannot avoid a consequence, say it's a medical disaster, it's a medical problem, it's a financial hardship, educational challenge. To protect someone is to be there consistently and to have their back, have their best interest, to instinctively want to stand up for them, to instinctively want to pull them up if they're down, to hug them physically, to give them protection is to love them openly so that they feel not alone or isolated. That might not seem like protection, but to an SLD it is. So if we're going to talk about codependency, Codependency is defined as the person who has a lopsided distribution of love, respect, caring, trust, and protection. They give it all away, hope it's reciprocal, and they stay. We know that codependents are attracted to pathological narcissists because that's the human magnet syndrome. That's the book I wrote that, believe it or not, and I'm so proud to say, has sold 200,000 copies and has been written in 10 languages. So codependency is about how love goes wrong. And what is love? Love is LRCTP. Naturally, when I created the new term for codependency, self-love deficit disorder, then the term and the definition started to match up. Now, self-love deficit disorder is a person who gives all the LRCTP, etc., etc. But I also talk about they don't have self-love. So the concepts that I talked about love, I frame them as what you do for other people. But the very same concept and the very same explanations apply to ourselves. Do we respect ourselves? Do we care for ourselves? Do we trust ourselves? Do we protect ourselves? Do we love ourselves? And if we are self-love deficient or codependent, that means we can't do it. We don't know how to do it. We have that deficit, aka self-love deficit disorder. And which is why I created the explanation of the SLDD, self-love deficit disorder pyramid. It specifically shows why we didn't learn how to love ourselves when we were so deficient. And it goes through, and you guys have heard this tons of times, at the bottom of the pyramid is the attachment trauma endured as a child from a narcissistic parent. From there is the core shame of feeling fundamentally broken or not lovable. From there is pathological loneliness, is this existential disease of feeling lost and painfully numb or sometimes painfully inflamed in discomfort because you're not in a relationship. Pathological loneliness is the understanding of having no love from the outside world and feeling painfully lost because of it. And the next level is the addiction, the self-love deficit disorder or codependency addiction. It's this compulsive desire to make the pain of the loneliness go away through a relationship. And naturally, the relationship is going to be with a narcissist. And up at the top of the pyramid is all of the symptoms, the traits that we understand that people who have self-love deficit disorder have, or codependency, all a review. But now I want you to look at the pyramid and understand that explains your conception of love. Up until this point, I've used that pyramid to explain exactly what is self-love deficit disorder. But now I want you to look at it as an understanding of your self-love deficit disorder or codependency. Or should you be self-love abundant, which means you still might have problems, but you don't have codependency. You don't have SLDD. And should you have self-love abundant, then that pyramid represents how you love yourself, why you love yourself, and the results of loving yourself. So in conclusion, today we learned about what is love. Love is respect of self and others, caring of self and others, trusting of self and others, and protection of self and others. LRCTP. And if you ever get stuck and you want to know if you love someone or if someone loves you, just go through those letters. Simplify matters. I hope this explanation helped you. I hope it helped clarify your understanding of your relationship with yourself. Should you be self-love deficient, codependent, now you understand what are the core constituent, what are the core reasons for why you can't or won't love yourself, or why someone is working so hard, like a pathological narcissist, to keep you from loving yourself. Perhaps they're gaslighting you, perhaps they're manipulating you, perhaps they're triangulating, perhaps they're poisoning people's minds or turning children against you. If you want to be healthy and self-love abundant, then you have to fight for your right of LRCTP. And if it's not there, find a therapist. Come to me. I have a self-love recovery treatment program. Find someone to heal the wounds that have kept you from loving yourself. I have books on the matter. I have full-length seminar videos at selfloverecovery.com. I have about 15 of them that were designed to go in detail about every facet of my work, from codependency to self-love deficit disorder, to treatment for it, to tips, tools, so much. Check that out. And if you want to get exclusive content and you want to be up to date with what I do and find out what I'm doing before everyone else does, consider being a part of our subscriber subscription program. So thank you very much. As usual, I'm incredibly grateful for all of you. I've been on YouTube for almost 14 years. 14 years. And every week I get a chance to talk to you guys. Every week something comes out. Something inspires me to teach my self-love recovery community, the people who are just stumbling across my YouTube and podcast communities. So on New Year's Eve, 2024, I say to you, please make this a year, this new year, one where you can dedicate to LRCTP of you. Because if you don't figure out how to love yourself, how to love, respect, care, trust, and protect yourself, you're not going to engender the same in another person who loves you as much as you love them. This is how we break codependency. This is how we stop self-love deficit disorder. Is to find a way to give us what we need to love ourselves, solve the obstacles that prevent us from loving ourselves, and create an environment that makes it possible, not so much easy, but possible, to traverse any rugged territory, any difficult obstacles, to get over, to go through, to get under everything that stops us from trying to love ourselves. Because we're tired of drowning. We want to be happy, and we deserve to love, respect, care, and trust ourselves, because that's when you're going to get the same from someone else. So I wish you a happiest New Year, and be well, and take care.